Young ladies and gentlemen, it's a spectacular turnaround. It's an unprecedented rejection that was made by Volodymyr Zelensky by Ukraine regarding the key points of the planned peace that was proposed very recently by the United States of America. It is necessary to say that this rejection, which is fueled by and the fact that Europe and NATO are in train to push Zelensky to go to the very end against the Federation of Russia. This agency, the conflict situation at an eternity, an endless conflict. During that, the whole world thought that in the end, Zelensky understood this and that he had really decided to go towards the peace. Meanwhile, that's all on the contrary, we observe. After the remarks that were made at YO and by the Minister of Foreign Affairs Ukrainian women with her counterparts as Europeans, we thought that was the nuance was going to be settled and then lifted to finally move quickly towards this peace agreement. But very unfortunately, the same demons that prevented the signing of a memorandum of understanding at Istanbul, these same demons have resurfaced. And before the Security Council of the UN is the representative of Ukraine for the UN, which took the words, as you can see, and who made statements, a shocking statement that proves that it can't work. America finds herself somehow humiliated because Zelensky and his Ukraine have just openly defied and head on the United States of America and Donald Trump. So what was said within the framework of this conference? This is the news we are going to discuss. Let's talk. That's it. But before we continue, as per usual, thank you for clicking the share button. I want to see a lot of shares. That allows the conference to be secured. Give it lots of likes. It's motivating, it's secure, and then always leave your opinion in the comments. If you haven't of specific opinions, you just put good evening Samurai or Mr. Ta. There you go. And if you're new, click the subscribe button. Subscribe. This ensures you never miss the hottest news of the moment. Let's delve into the depths. It's a shocking statement at the UN. The Vice President of Ukraine, at the UN I believe, that's it. The representative, here is Ukraine at the UN, announced that Kiev rejects the central elements of the plan. Peace presented by Donald Trump. What Donald Trump deemed it appropriate that Ukraine must accept this for the advent of peace. You know that Donald Trump, what does he want? For Ukraine to accept? Only at first, and then afterwards they'll see what they're going to do. But it is this logic that Zelensky refuses to understand. So it's a direct rejection of 4 key points. What is the first point? It's the territorial concession. You know, that's what Russia is talking about. Relies on it. Ukraine must give in. Territories already conquered by Russia. Ukraine asserts that it will not give in no portion of territory. Ukraine asserts that it will not give in no portion of territory, nor in crime, nor in the Donbas discussions, Washington, Moscow. That means the doors of dialogue remain closed. At a time when Ukraine says it will not cede territory, neither in Crimea nor in the Donbas. During this time, it is Russia which has total control of Crimea. The Donbas too. Russia is in the process to consolidate total control of all the localities in Donbas. We have seen here the past few days in our previous video conferences. So if Ukraine cannot do territorial concession, what is it? What can Ukraine do? Let's continue the war. However, Ukraine has not plus the means for his war. The second major point, you know that in the plan, it was proposed that Ukraine renounce its NATO membership. So the question of renunciation, Kiev refuses to join NATO, to abandon the strategic objective of join the alliance, which remains a political red line and military. So for Kiev, it's a red line. Ukraine can accept anything but being forbidden from joining NATO. Ukraine is not ready to accept that. Now, that's one of the reasons why, which is where the conflict was triggered. Russia doesn't want to see it at all. Ukraine is a member of NATO. A member from NATO's perspective, this is a perceived threat, existential for Russia. The top officials of the Federation from Russia at all levels are regularly returning to this aspect that they themselves consider it to be a red line. And here is Ukraine, which also considers this element as being an inviolable red line. So there's also the third point major. This is almost a limitation on the number of armed forces. The Ukrainian government categorically rejects any reduction imposed on his army, believing that this would be a deadly vulnerability in the face of Moscow. You know, in the proposals, Russia wants demilitarize Ukraine, wants a limited number within the forces Ukrainian armies. And if Ukraine accept this, Russia will always be in a position to force vis-a-vis Ukraine, all something that will allow Russia to continue to control properly Ukraine. First, Ukraine is not a member of a weakened NATO, which has a small army, including the number is imposed by Russia, that is, which suits Russia. It must be, look, we're in the geopolitics is the law of the strongest. Right, that's so clear. You have to say it. There you have it. So Ukraine rejects that point. But that point is it was Russia that proposed it. Clearly, according to Dmitri's statements, Medvedev by Dmitry Peskov, I was going, said the Kremlin spokesman. Russia did not participate in the drafting of this plan. And so it is a plan American, but one that takes into account, all requirements, however minimal the requirement may be, but that takes into account all requirements, Russians. So the fourth point is the status of the Russian language. Kiev refuses to allow Russian, becomes an official language or benefits of a special status. Considering this as an interference in his sovereignty, so for Ukraine to impose on Ukraine to put Russian as being a part, as being one of the languages, official documents of the country. And it's an interference. We must not impose anything on Ukraine. But there is many Russians who are on the side of Ukraine. A lot. And it's because of, what do we say about the Russians? Russophobia, right? That Russia had the arguments for penetrate. This is one of the elements that gave a very strong argument to the Russia to carry out the attack from 2022. And therefore the displayed position of Zelensky. The point is that Zelensky will not sign this agreement according to the terms of the delegation Ukrainian. That's a stance. Public targeting both Washington and Moscow. So this is a statement that intervenes while secret negotiations between Russia and the United States are moving forward, and Donald Trump is trying to impose a CC, the global fire, via this 28-point agreement. So ladies and gentlemen, that was it. The front page of the news. Thank you for the share. I'll get back to you soon. The time.